Bam, got the plywood. Ended up running up, doing a supply run. Got the rest of the materials I needed for this. So once I got back, I ended up just throwing it on the saw there and ripped up the panel real quick. Fit perfect in there. Looking real nice. So next step, I got to rip up some rails, some small rails there. I'm going to tack them in here. That's going to help support the top. And do the same thing for the bottom down here. And then at that point, it's just got to cut the bottom to fit, cut the top to fit, and then frame out the top. Cut some vent holes in the top, frame those off, and this thing will be all done. Now I got the bottom fit in. It's just a straight up rectangle, and I got that cut, and it just drops in. Once this is all secure, it won't even really need anything to hold it in place because it's that 1/2 inch. So I still want to cut an access hole in here somewhere for so that the lizard can get into the basement part. I haven't quite figured out exactly where I'm going to do that yet. Really, it can go pretty much anywhere. So I like to do it though mostly on the hot side. That way the heat light will end up warming up some of the basement too, so it doesn't get too cold down there. I got the piece cut also now for the top. Just gonna have to rip it down a little bit thinner so it's not such a tight fit, and then frame it off. But it's getting really close. So, and it's looking really good. Now I'm getting ready to fashion up a top for this bad boy. So I got my 1/4 inch plywood, cut to length and width, and throw it up here on the board, on the desk, and see if I like one of the sides better than the other. And I think I'm going to use this as my top. So right now I set the saw up for about 1 inch. I just ripped up a couple 3/4 footers. That's going to give me my rails here to frame the top off. So this is the one I like the most. I'm going to put that one up front, and basically just going to miter all the corners and make a picture frame, fasten it to the top of this. That'll be the top. The top's just going to drop right into the unit, and then once I get the frame, I'll go ahead and cut out for the light hole, the access for the lighting, and then I'll do some vents. So that's where I'm at right now. So now I just got to finish up these last two sides. I can see that it's a little bit heavy on the end, but that's alright because I can trim that off after. So I'm gonna take that, clamp it, and then we're gonna try to make this last connection here. Yeah, you can see him. I'm a little heavy there. Let's see here. I may actually do a trim. So I found the piece that's holding me up here, and what I think I actually want to do, since I haven't nailed it in yet, I'm going to take it back off, take it over the saw. I'm going to try to trim that into place. On these miter cuts, you really don't want to take too much off at once. Maybe start with like a 1/2 of a blade width. Try to work it in. We're looking good on the width here. That cut did it. but I do have a little bit of extra on this back length now, so, and that may hold it up from being able to fit in the enclosure. So what we'll do is, after I get this all fastened, I'm going to run the saw blade right up this end so it doesn't throw off the miter cut, and we're going to take off maybe about a 1/16 of an inch, and then that'll actually clean up this edge too, so it'll give it a nice looking factory edge. Now what I want to do, since I'm running low on clamps, they're all in the garage right now, grab this face clamp here and use this. Let's squeeze this down as best I can get it. Okay. So now, and I'm going to come across that side and nail it. Going to kind of have to squeeze it together as I go. Make sure that everything's lined up. I'm going to come over on this side, kind of take some nails where I can get them. I can reclaim that clamp there. Now that side is complete. I can remove this clamp, down on this end. Make this fitting here, this miter joint. Also making sure that I'm on the edge here, keeping all that lined up as I go. There we go. Oh, that, you sucker. This thing's going good now. Make sure I got a suitable amount of staples in that before I take the clamp off. And now it's just a matter of making this last joint come together for us. I have to put a 1 inch on these corners just to hold them together, keep them from splaying out. Actually, I'm gonna do that right now. Just switch these guns over to the 1 inch brad nailer. Let's see if I can get these miter joints to clean up for us. There we go. And do one in each corner. In from the sides to kind of help hide that. Yeah, that's why I don't go back to a crown stapler. So this is the edge that's going to be getting trimmed. Is able to go right around the corner on that. Take these clamps off. And I'm going to flip this around so we can get some corner nails in here. Hold the miter joints together while the glue's drying. Make sure I got staples left. There we go. I'll do one on this corner also, just for good measure. Side looks like it's really good though. Alright, now I just got to trim this up for length here. I got a little bit of a overhang here. It's not much, but it goes pretty much from flush down at that end to maybe about an eighth of it, not even an eighth. So I'm going to clean that up. It'll also clean up the saw burns there. Now I got to figure out where I want to cut my square for the light. So I like to do 11 inches squared, and that way the 10-inch dome fits right in. So I'm kind of just eyeballing my square here. And go. The light doesn't get too close to the plexiglass. I also like to come a little bit more forward and leave a little bit more room in the back, just in case you end up doing a fluorescent tube in the back there. I like to leave room for that. So here's my light cut out. Now I like to also come over and figure out doing some kind of a vent system here. I'm going to go 8 inches. And then we're going to go, say, 16 inches, just for now. Flip this over. And 16 inches. And then close that off. So we'll probably end up with an 8x8 on this side. And that'll be our cutout for the vent hole. Got all my pieces made now to frame off the top and finish this. So I like to frame off the light section, and then I made some slider rails for for the door over here for the vent. So, and I gave myself a 1/4 inch on each side of a lip for that to slide back and forth in. And I went ahead and mitered everything out. So right now I've got everything laid out right where I want them to go. They're just flipped upside down. That way I can go put the glue on them, nail them down, call it a day. I went ahead, I got my glue on all the surfaces there. Now I'm just going to start at the front here and get the miter joints. And then I'm just going to loosely float these in place for a minute until I get them all the way around. And then if I need to adjust anything, pretty much just looking to center everything up over my hole here. Make sure I don't have any gaps not joining up. There we go. So it's looking really good. Everything's lining up nice for me here. I think I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and start sinking some nails in here. I got the 5/8 inch brad nails. Make my connection here. I'll just ghost out my back wall here. Make that connection there. Kind of wipe out a little bit of the glue squeeze out. And then connect down here so I can move this joint into place. It's looking pretty good. There you go. There's the light box, or the light cutout. Now the slider's a little bit mostly the same. I like to start off with an end piece. Make sure I'm getting glue on that joint real nice there, where the board tapers out and gets thin. So I'm just going to kind of ghost that piece on, and come down here from the front, do that one next. You don't want to use too much glue on these. You do want it to hold nice because it is a structural piece as far as sliding a door back and forth for you. So I'm just going to have the door kind of loosely ghosted in there. Kind of just floating where I think it's going to be. Now on this one, I like to come in and shoot a nail on these corners, making sure that I'm not in the track for the plexi, or for the plywood. And so what I'm going to do is make this miter connection here. Then I'm going to go up to the top rail, get the surfaces for the miter joint. All the surface is glued. Then we're going to come down here. I'm going to ghost that connection. I'm not going to nail it yet. I want to take this piece, my end piece, glue this up. Alright, and then you come in here. Start ghosting that into position there. I think that looks pretty good, so I'm going to go ahead and stick one on the bottom. And I'll leave that connection for now. I want to make this one up here. First, and then we'll come down on that side. So let's see here. Come out my way just a little bit. Oh. Right here. And now, make sure that this is going to slide good. Now I'll make this bottom connection down here. And I just got this last miter here joint to finish off. Let's make sure that's looking good on both ends. Finish that off. And that's it. Now I might come through the back and hit a couple of these just to keep those joints lined up better. So on this one I'm going to sneak one in the side here. That way you don't see it from the front. This one might be a little harder to sneak one in the side, so I'm going to have to come through the front. And then the last two we'll do from the back side to hide those. This is going to help keep the miter joint together, make it a little bit stronger. So just pushing the glue there till it squeezes out. Stick a nail right here. It's holding position really good now. Cool. So at this point, let's just kind of make sure everything's looking good, that it's not going to fall out. There's a little bit of friction there, but that's alright. A little bit of the wax, but got to be careful with this stuff too, because it will prevent the finish from sticking on. I just have to wipe some alcohol on the areas that are getting the finish. There we go. There, that's perfect. That's all there is to it.